Okay, so let's dive into British politics
Ooh, fun.
and some fascinating what-if scenarios
Okay.
surrounding Chancellor Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
I think you've probably heard the whispers
Uh-huh.
about potential vulnerabilities for her.
Right.
So we're going to examine 5 scenarios today
Remember.
based on historical
All
parallels
right.
that could lead to her resignation.
Interesting.
Get ready to see how history might repeat itself,
Yeah.
and maybe even predict the future of British politics.
I love it.
Right.
I'm ready.
So our source article highlights these 5 potential triggers for resignation
Okay.
and dives into some juicy historical parallels. For
Oh.
instance, a cabinet reshuffle
Mm-hmm.
might sound like just a friendly rearrangement of things,
Yeah.
but it can be a strategic maneuver
Yeah.
to remove ministers without a direct dismissal.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a subtle way to say,
Right.
hey, we want you out,
Exactly.
but we don't want to make it messy.
Right.
So we're just going to move you over there.
It's a power move.
And maybe you'll resign and save us the trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how those seemingly simple events,
Yeah.
like a cabinet reshuffle,
Uh-huh.
can be used as powerful political tools.
Right.
Prime ministers throughout history have used these tactics
Yeah.
to subtly shift power dynamics.
Absolutely.
Both Gordon Brown and Boris Johnson
Oh, yeah.
have used reshuffles to encourage ministers to step down,
Right.
essentially achieving their goal without the messiness of firing them outright.
Right.
It's a bit like a game of chess, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Moving pieces around to gain a strategic advantage.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder
Yeah.
if Keir Starmer might consider this tactic.
Right.
If he felt Reeves' policies were jeopardizing Labour's chances
Yeah.
in the next election,
Mm-hmm.
it's a subtle way to reshape the political landscape.
And this leads us to another scenario
Okay.
where a chancellor can find themselves on shaky ground.
Right.
A loss of prime ministerial confidence.
Right.
This could be particularly tricky
Yes.
because the relationship between a prime minister and their chancellor is absolutely crucial.
Absolutely.
They need to be in sync,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to economic policy.
Yes, it's true. A
Okay.
strong level of trust is essential. And
Yeah.
when that breaks down,
Yeah,
things can unravel quickly.
for sure.
Remember what happened with Sajid Javid?
Oh, yeah?
He resigned as chancellor under Boris Johnson
Uh-huh.
due to clashes over advisors.
Yeah, you can only imagine the tension
Right.
in those meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
That situation highlights the importance of alignment
Right.
between the prime minister and the chancellor.
Uh-huh.
If Starmer were to lose confidence in Reeves,
Okay.
he could either request her resignation or even formally dismiss her.
Oh, wow.
Either way, it would send shockwaves through the political system.
Speaking of disagreements,
Yeah.
our next scenario focuses on policy clashes,
Okay.
which can fracture even the strongest political alliances.
Right, because politics is all about navigating different viewpoints.
Exactly.
And history is rife with examples of these clashes,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to economic strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Take Nigel Lawson's resignation under Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, that was a dramatic power struggle.
Yeah.
Lawson resigned because he disagreed with Thatcher's approach
Yeah.
to European economic policy.
Right.
It's a reminder that even seemingly unbreakable partnerships
Mhm.
can crumble under the weight of conflicting ideologies.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It raises the question,
Yeah.
could similar ideological clashes within labor today,
Mm-hmm.
particularly regarding economic policy,
Right.
potentially lead to Reeves' downfall?
It makes you think.
It does.
It does about how these things can play out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's all about those power dynamics and those relationships
Right.
and how they shift and evolve over time.
Exactly. So
Fascinating stuff.
it is fascinating.
Yeah. It's like a real-life political drama unfolding
It is.
right before our eyes.
Absolutely.
So-
all right, so we've covered 3 scenarios so far.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back to delve into the remaining 2.
Sounds good.
It's fascinating to delve into these historical power struggles and see how they might foreshadow the future, but let's not forget that political storms can brew in many forms.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about policy clashes,
Right.
but rather the ever-looming specter of scandal.
Public perception is a fickle beast, isn't it?
It is.
Even if a chancellor isn't personally involved in wrongdoing, a major scandal can create a whirlwind of chaos
Oh, yeah.
and distrust,
Right.
ultimately forcing their resignation.
Our source brings up the infamous Black Wednesday incident,
Right.
which led to Norman Lamont's resignation.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a personal scandal for Lamont,
Yeah.
but his handling of that economic crisis,
Yeah.
with the pound crashing out of the European exchange rate mechanism,
Oh, yeah.
put immense pressure on him and damaged the government's credibility.
Exactly. It became a question of public trust and the government's ability to manage the situation effectively.
Right.
And with the current economic challenges we're facing, Reeves is under constant scrutiny.
For sure.
Any misstep could easily trigger public outcry
Yeah.
and calls for her resignation.
It's a high wire act, for
Yeah.
sure. And speaking of prayer, our final scenario examines the impact of internal party pressure.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a constant popularity contest,
Right.
but with much higher stakes.
Absolutely, internal dissent could be incredibly destabilizing.
Yeah.
If enough Labor MPs or key party figures openly criticize Reeves,
Yeah.
it could seriously erode Starmer's confidence in her leadership.
Yeah, it could totally damage that relationship.
We've seen this play out before, haven't we?
Absolutely. Our source reminds us of Charles Clark,
Right.
who resigned as Home Secretary under Tony Blair.
Uh-huh.
He faced intense internal pressure
Yeah.
following a series of blunders,
Mm.
and ultimately it cost him his position.
Right.
It makes you realize that maintaining party unity is crucial.
Oh, yeah.
A divided party is a vulnerable party,
For sure.
especially in the lead up to a general election.
Now, you might be wondering if there's a formal mechanism
Right.
to challenge a minister's position, like a vote of no confidence.
Is there a way to directly target a chancellor like Reeves?
It's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
While there's no specific process to initiate a no-confidence vote against a single minister,
Yeah.
the prime minister is a different story.
So the pressure could actually be directed at Starmer himself.
Precisely.
Wow.
Let's imagine a scenario where Starmer is facing mounting pressure from within the Labor Party to remove Reeves,
Okay.
perhaps due to public disapproval of her economic policies or handling of a particular issue.
He'd be caught between a rock and a hard place, wouldn't he?
Exact.
Loyal to his chancellor,
Yeah.
but also facing potential rebellion within his own party.
And that rebellion could manifest as a vote of no confidence against Starmer himself.
Wow.
He would then be forced to make a difficult decision,
Right.
stand by his chancellor and risk losing the confidence of his party,
Yeah.
or sacrifice Reeves to appease his critics and potentially preserve his own leadership.
Wow, that's a tough choice.
It's a high-stakes game of political chess.
It is.
So we've laid out these 5 scenarios, each with fascinating historical parallels and potential to reshape the current political landscape.
Yeah, but what I find most intriguing
Yeah.
is that these scenarios aren't mutually exclusive.
That's a crucial point. It's not just about one isolated event leading to Reeves' resignation.
Right.
It's about how these scenarios can intertwine and create a complex web of pressure points.
Exactly.
A public scandal, for example, could easily trigger internal party pressure,
Right.
which could then lead to a loss of confidence from the prime minister.
Like a domino effect, one event triggering another, ultimately culminating in Reeves' departure. And I think what makes this so captivating
Yeah.
is that we're not just observing history, we're witnessing it unfold in real time.
It's happening right now.
British politics are in a state of flux, and Reeves' position is a microcosm of that larger dynamic.
Absolutely. She's navigating a political minefield where every step she takes could have unintended consequences.
It's true.
It's a reminder of the immense pressure and scrutiny that comes with holding such a high-profile position,
Yeah.
especially in these turbulent times.
And as we've learned from the historical examples, even the most powerful figures can be brought down by a confluence of political maneuvering, public pressure, and unforeseen events.
Which brings us back to the central question.
Okay.
What does all this mean for Rachel Reeves and the Labor Party?
It seems Reeves's position, while currently supported by Starmer, is far from secure.
Right.
The political winds can change direction swiftly,
Sure.
and any number of these scenarios could unfold,
Yeah.
jeopardizing her role as chancellor.
It's a fascinating situation to watch unfold.
It is.
It really is.
Absolutely. It really does feel like we're watching a political thriller unfold. But, it's not just about whether Reeves stays or goes.
Right.
What fascinates me is the potential ripple effect her departure could have on the entire political landscape.
That's an incredibly important point. If we step back and look at the bigger picture, Reeves's resignation wouldn't simply be a personal setback.
Right.
It could significantly impact Labor's overall strategy and their prospects in the next general election.
It's like pulling a thread on a sweater.
Right.
You never know how much will unravel. If
Okay.
Reeves were to resign, the question becomes who steps into those shoes.
That's the million-dollar question, and the choice of a successor would be incredibly revealing.
Yeah.
It would tell us a lot about Starmer's priorities and his vision for the Labor Party.
Right.
Would he opt for someone who perfectly aligns with his economic policies, essentially maintaining the status quo?
Right.
Or would he choose someone who represents a different faction within the party, perhaps signaling a shift in direction?
It's almost like a political puzzle.
Yeah.
trying to find the perfect candidate who balances experience, policy expertise,
Right.
and public appeal,
Yeah.
someone who can unite the party
Yeah.
and inspire confidence in voters.
It's a tall order.
It is.
And then there's the question of how a new chancellor might impact Labor's overall strategy.
Right.
Would they stick with Reeves's approach, or would they signal a change in economic policy?
So many unknowns.
It's true.
It's amazing how one event, like a resignation, can create so many possibilities and uncertainties.
It's a chain reaction with potentially huge implications.
We've discussed the historical context, the potential scenarios, and the political stakes.
Right.
But now it's your turn to ponder the possibilities.
Okay.
What stands out to you?
Yeah.
What do you think the implications would be if Reeves were to resign?
Exactly. We've given you the tools and insights.
Right.
And now it's up to you to connect the dots and form your own conclusions.
That's right.
Who knows, you might be the one predicting the next big political shift.
This is what makes these deep dives so fascinating, isn't it?
I think so.
We get to explore the complexities of British politics together, unearthing those aha moments, and realizing just how much history can inform the present.
Absolutely. And the most important takeaway is this. Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep asking those insightful questions.
Yes.
Because as we've seen today, even these seemingly most secure positions in politics can be swept away by the tide of events.
And that's the beauty of it all, wouldn't you say?
I agree.
You emerge from a deep dive with more questions than answers.
Right.
A head full of intriguing possibilities.
Uh-huh.
And a newfound appreciation for the ever-changing political landscape.
It's a wild ride.
It is.
So until next time.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world around us.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
TCIS.